Hi guys, welcome back to another video. And in today's video, episode 32 of our Q1 FY26 earnings season, where we categorize the company into whether it's good, decent, poison, or shit. In today's video, we will be talking about the entire ACCA sector or the AC space, right? We will cover all the companies that have a B2C brand over here, as well as the manufacturing or B2B companies. So we will be doing around 6 companies, I would say: PGL, Epack, Amber, and Amber. Then we have that's on the B2B side. A little bit on the B2C side, we have Symphony, Voltas, and Bluestar. So these are the 6 companies that we will do, and we will see how things are over here, if it is if there is any hope for change, because I think everybody knows by now like last year was a very great, a tremendous year for the entire AC stocks. But on the other hand, we see like this year is probably the worst year for the AC stocks. Okay, so we will be talking about it. Okay, I think with this entire ACCA, the ACCA sector, I believe everybody knew what to expect with most of the other companies that are there, at least to a certain degree. But I think with PGL, the expectations was very high to a certain, like the PGL expectation was extremely high. And I think when that expectations didn't go through, probably, when that guidance, that expectations didn't go through, I think that is why you see, the kind of rage that has been there. Anyways, we will discuss that in detail. We will talk about that promoter selling, all of it, in detail we will talk. But for now, I will just share my screen, and then after that we will just go to an individual companies. Okay, so how do I change this? Yeah, if you can see, yeah, if you can see, I believe the AC sector is a really, really good example of understanding your upcycle and downcycle, right? Not just that, it is a good case study, a real life example on, how the demand supply situation can work. Because I believe this is a product that is easier to understand. It is AC, right? I think most of us have it in our house. And the second thing over here with the entire AC space, or, not just AC, but since we saw, the weather, we are able to experience it. We saw last summer, last summer was horrible. This time we don't even have a summer, you can tell. So I think since on both the side, you can experience a product, you can experience that entire weather condition. I think it becomes a very, very interesting case study. Okay, so if you are new over here, I think if you're somebody who's followed me for a very long time, you already know this, right? Because I've been talking about this for a long time. If you've got the investment checklist workshop, you probably you understand this. If you got the portfolio analysis, the FY25 workshop, right, which we did by the end of Q4, you all know that had PGL and had sold PGL, before the Q4 result came. So I think you are aware of that, of this. But if you're new, I would like to explain it this once again, and then we will go, to analyzing each and every company that is there. Okay, and yes, if you haven't already got the FY26, the Q1 FY26 portfolio workshop, make sure you're getting that, because as you know, right, we have a lot more companies coming up. We have a lot more opportunities. So we will discuss all of that in the Q1 FY26 workshop. Make sure to register. The link is below. Anyways, when you speak about the same time last year, that is the period between Q4 to Q1, what happened was, if you look at the AC space, we had a really good summer. I think the summer, was starting to shape up really good, because last time we had this something called as El Nino effect. Because of that, we had terrible heat waves, horrible summer, which was unbearable, right? So and nobody expected that kind of summer, to start, in the last year. Nobody. It was just, you can tell it was a question in the test that was thrown, out of the book, kind of out of the syllabus kind of question. So similarly over here, as a result, nobody anticipated this kind of summer. It was out of a blue moon, right? What happened, everybody, like when the summer was so bad, the demand for ACs just literally went up, right? And when demand was up, but supply, because everybody thought 24-25 ka year ka jo summer hai, it would be the same as 23-24. So the stocking up in the channels, the stocking up in the inventory was at normal level. It was not above the level. But what had happened over here? Supply is not there, right? Because you didn't anticipate such aggressive summer. But now the demand has gone up, okay? So what is that? Demand is up, but supply is not there, right? Everybody wants an AC, okay? But there are not enough ACs to cater to people. As a result, kya hua? Sara AC ka price pad gaya, right? A 40,000 AC started getting sold at 70,000, 75,000, right? And then as a result, kya hua? Price badta hai, right? So much demand is there, production bad gaya, sabka inventories badne laga, and because of that, guidance also went up. And we saw this entire thing happen throughout the year FY FY24-25 across the quarters, right? Starting from Q4 of 23-24 to Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 of 24-25, this entire situation happened, and every company would come, post more than what they guided for, increase the guidance, and that's how it was. Now, coming right now, as you know, this entire ASICA space that is there, right? The months of March, April, May, June, these 4 months that are there, they contribute 60% of the sales in throughout the year. The other months that are there, the other 8 months of the year, contribute only 40% of the sale. The entire sale comes, 60% of the sales comes from this 4 months of the year. Now, इस साल क्या हुआ? As you know, this year the summer was not that great because we didn't have the El Nino. On top of that, it was in ulta. The summer was not even क्या बोलते हैं. Last time the summer was prolonged. We had a prolonged summer, until I think June, July, August also, the summer went continued. There was no monsoons that time. This year it is ulta, right? Which is what? We don't have a strong summer. In fact, our summer that is there, it is the coldest. You can tell the summer has been the coldest in the past 60 years. Can you imagine in the last 6 decades, this is probably the coolest summer we've probably had. Okay, that has happened. And on top of that, what? Monsoons came early. Usually you will see the onset of monsoon starts in the month of June, July. But this time we had monsoons come in the south of area. We had it in April. But if you look at the entire India, starting from May only, a month before only, the monsoon started over here. So kya hua? All these companies that are there, right? All these companies that are there, this channel inventories, aapka jo stockist hai, distributor hai, these people anticipated कि like last time जो summer होगा वैसा ही summer इस बार भी होगा, and as a result, in order to not have this, so much demand is there, supply नहीं है इसी का, they started stocking up on the inventory कि like भाई इस बार भी इतना ही अच्छा summer होगा. So all these people started supplying on the all these people started क्या बोलते, started having a lot of inventories kept. I think these two boxes should have been interchanged actually. I just realized right now as I'm explaining. So the supply was up, okay, but kya hua? Demand was not there. Demand was completely down, right? Because summer is not there this time. Summer is cool, rain ho raha hai, kisko AC chahiye, right? And as a result, kya hua? Obviously, itna supply, koi bhi kharid nahi raha hai, तो प्राइसिंग का प्राइस का एसी का प्राइस का भाव कम होने लगा. Discounting started happening because you have to get rid of the inventory, right? You have so much inventory, so obviously you have to get rid of that, right? So already market में इतना inventory है, destocking चल रहा है, price का discounting हो रहा है. So आपका जो what is the point of producing more? So production stop hone lage this year. This year we are seeing capex ka guidance being revised, and as a result the overall sales guidance also started being revised over here. Now see one thing, the entire game, whether it is in this entire game, right, the problem started whether it is discounting, inventory badna, guidance reduce karna, capex reduce karna. Connect the points to one thing. Where does it all start from, right? Here also, if you see price badna, production badna, guidance badna, where does it all start from? Where does the problem really start? The problem really starts when the growth starts tapering off. Because if you look back at PGEL, if you look back at Epack, if you look back at Amber, everybody, if you see, from Q4, they started giving a warning, ki like, bhai, this time the summer is not that great. This time the summer is not that great. The growth is going to come down. Last year what we had, it was an abrupt thing. It was a once in a blue moon event. This time we are going to have a normalized summer. Usually if you see the AC industry that is there, it grows somewhere between 15 to 20. Last time it grew 30% odd, in that range it grew. But this time we will go back to the normalized level of AC. So do you see one thing? When in that Q4 that growth ka rate started tapering off for the upcoming year, kya hone laga? Price का correction होने लगा, discounting होने लगा, inventory में problem आने लगा, ultimately capex revision हो गया, guidance हो गया. Do you see the root cause of everything can be connected to one simple thing, that is the sales growth? And this is what we keep talking to you in the investment checklist workshop. Everything is connected to one factor, sales growth. The minute you understand how to look at sales growth, you don't look at sales growth just as a number. Don't think about it like 40 से 50 हो गया, 50 से 40 हो गया. But there are many factors of sales growth, like volume volume plus value plus SSG. So the minute you understand then sales growth, right, all of this becomes easier. You understand कि like sales growth का घटने का reason क्या है, and then you will be able to connect all these points. ठीक है? So that is that. So get the investment checklist workshop. If you are not able to understand this entire concept of sales growth and the pace of sales growth that is there. So this is the current situation of the entire AC ka stock. In fact, I will tell it is worse than what we anticipated in Q4, because in Q4 क्या था, ठीक है भाई, मतलब because last year itna terrible summer tha, this year it's not going to be as strong summer as last year, but still there was a hope ki like they will grow at that 15 to 20%, which is what the AC industry has been growing in India. They would grow at least at that rate. But unfortunately, the rains and the monsoons has been so horrible this year that the AC industry, all the players in the AC industries are telling you like, forget 50 to 20%. I would be really happy even if we can grow 10%, if the AC industry is able to grow 10%, because the monsoons has really covered India. Like the entire India is facing this terrible monsoons that there is no way out of it, right? That's how it is. So yeah, I mean, if you, I think to understand this space better, you should actually track Bluestar, because I still remember, like, I think if you watch that video of mine, right, cutting, what was that title, cutting stock to generate an alpha, I spoke about it, right? I spoke about the fact, I think I even explained in the portfolio analysis workshop also, like what was the logic before cutting PGL, because as you know, PGL was my highest allocation in last year. It was the top number one, right? So the reason was, again, Bluestar ka guy, I still remember in Q4 ka con call, he came before, like before he starts his management commentary regarding the result and everything, right? Like usually what people do is they start with like, mera sales itna bad gaya, mera PAT itna bad gaya, and then they go on to talk about the environment. But here he did ulta, and he's like, I know all of you analysts are going to jump on me and going to ask me one question: summer kaisa hai, summer kaisa hai, summer kaisa hai. In fact, this is the only question I keep, I get asked by everyone, my relatives, my friends, my fund manager bhi yahi puchta hai mujhse. And I'll tell you something, the AC ka, this, what we are seeing this time is not that strong, and he spoke about this in length for, I think for like 10 minutes. And that same guy came in Q1 con call. He only told, like, we will be happy if the AC industry grows between, I think, that 20% kind of CAGR. The same guy came to this con call and he's telling the entire AC industry is facing so much disruption right now, such terrible disruption it is facing because of this weather. It would be really great, first of all, just to, have a 10% kind of CAGR growth, for this year in the AC industry. And the entire hope for all of these AC industries, all of these AC players, it is only one and only one thing. In the month of October, November, we have this Dasara, we have Durga Puja, Diwali, right? A lot of people buy electronics, clothes, because it's a festivity time. The only hope for all of these players is that during this time, this electronica purchase goes high. As a result, income, thoda, at least, that sales can come. That is the only and only hope. But this time, if the winters are very strong, like last time's winters were not that great, right? Because if you remember, all these companies that are there, V2 Retail, Bazaar Style Retail, आपका जो innerwear का company है, Jockey, Rupa and all of it, these people have a very strong Q3. One of the reason is festivities. The other reason is during आपका ये, October, November, December, Jan, right? This month, what happens? You start selling this sweater, आपका, all this winter wear clothes. Now, what happens over there? Winter wear clothes का margin is very higher because, थोड़ा सा आपका price बढ़ता है. आपका normal, चड्डी बनियान and आपका shirt का prices will be in V2 Retail and all 200 रुपए, 100 रुपए. But all these sweaters and everything can go up to 500, 600, right? The average, price that is there. So क्या होता है वहाँ पे उनका margins बढ़ता है, थोड़ा value growth ज़्यादा आता है, better product mix होता है in the month of Q3. But last time for them that didn't happen. For all these retail, apparel companies, why it didn't happen? Winter was not that strong. Who benefited from this? All these idiots benefited. PGEL, Epack, Amber. क्यों? Winter strong नहीं था. So as a result, सबको AC चाहिए. So these people benefited, they suffered. This year, if the winter is strong, उल्टा हो जाएगा. Again, these people will suffer. Already they're suffering in Q1 and Q2 also they will suffer. Q3 they will. Again, if that winter is not that strong, again AC का कोई नहीं खरीदेगा in that Dasara Diwali. And who will benefit over here? All the V2 Retail and the retail apparel company, because people will, if the winter is great, they will buy that sweater. So do you understand again one thing? One weather, just one small change in weather, how it is a boon for one industry and a bane for a completely another industry. Same situation, entire country is facing one situation, but somebody is making profits out of it and somebody else is, completely going out of business out of it. I mean, it's a very, I think as a shareholder, this is a, as an investor, this is a beauty. You get to learn so much, but also at the same time, you're able to experience things in a real time basis. And like, you're like, I think, I do not know if you all can understand, but it's very baffling. And also at the same time, like, there is a silver lining in terms of beauty towards the entire situation. So that is your entire, what is happening with the AC space. And along with that, like I told you, यहाँ पे इतना discounting चल रहा है, and all these channel people have stocked up on the AC. Usually, if you see AC का industry में क्या होता है, inventories are very high, because see, आपको कल AC चाहिए, that manufacturing facility can't go, and एक दिन में आपको AC बना के नहीं दे सकता. It takes around 2 to 3 months for you to manufacture an AC. So usually यहाँ पे this is a kind of industry where inventory is high. But usually you will see, उनका inventories जो है 1 million, around 1 million is the inventories that they usually keep. This time क्या हुआ है, inventories has, because इतना उन्होंने supply, इतना उन्होंने क्या बोलते हैं, स्टॉक करके रखा है, इतना स्टॉक करके रखा है, ऑल दिस चैनल एंड चैनल पीपल, एंड डिमांड नहीं है. सो व्हाट हैज हैपेंड ओवर हियर कि लाइक द क्या बोलते हैं, द इन्वेंटरी दैट इज देयर हैज इंक्रीज्ड बाय 3 to 4 times. Usually you will see the inventory is around 1 million, but right now itna inventory has gone up to like to 3 to 4 million. Here is the thing, again coming back to the sales growth. Now think about it, if we had a great summer just like last year, right, just like last year, if we had the great summer, this entire 4 million of inventories that is there, it would, which is currently lying in this entire industry, it would have been sold out, right? It would have been completely sold out, right? There would be no problem. Itna inventory, no problem. Kahan pe problem hua again? Sales growth ghat gaya. Again, when the sales growth comes down, you are not able to sell the inventory, and then that same inventory becomes a dead ass thing in your balance sheet. Understand that inventory badna is not a bad thing. Inventory badna becomes a bad thing when you're not able to execute, when you're not able to sell. Again, how do you know inventory is a good thing, whether it is increasing a good thing or a bad thing? When, if it increases, when does it become a good thing? If it increases, when does it become a bad thing? Again, the problem starts in sales growth. If today that sales growth were there, right, the same inventory that is there, jo bad raha tha, it would have been sold, it wouldn't have been a problem. Summer would have been great, entire year would have been great. But since the sales growth started falling, kahan pe problem hua? Inventory now is stuck up over there. The same inventory which could have been sold, which wouldn't have been no problem, because the sales growth is coming down, the same inventory right now will be an overhang in the entire financial statement in this Q2 of this year. So again, that's that connect everything to sales growth, everything. The root factor of all the problem comes with fall in pace of growth. Okay, now enough with this thing. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to start talking about each and every companies in detail. I think, every, like I told in the beginning of the video, every company sort of, you knew what to expect, but I think with PGL, the expectation was sort of high, because every single company came and they told, like, bhai, this time summer is not that great, But PGL was that one company that came and they gave that guidance of 35 to 40, when everybody were guiding for like 15 to 20%, somewhere in that range, right? So that is number one factor. The second thing over here is, again, I think a lot of people had I think an expectation ki like even this year may not be that great, but it would be at least a bit better. Why? Because if you look back at PGL ka guidance in Q4 of last year, right? Q4 of last year, if you see, they didn't give this guidance of 80 to 100% in like one shot. It was like first they told 25 to 30%, and then they increased to 45, then 54, and then 85. So since even this, so they expected, similar kind of trend. And when that didn't happen, I think bahut logo ko, it felt like a jhatka, I believe. And I think that is more or less, I don't think the company has done anything, like terrible. I honestly feel like people were not able to read through the lines. And as a result, there was I think it was all a game of expectations at the end of the day. There was a high expectations and it didn't deliver through. And obviously when something doesn't go your way, all hell break loose, right? So when you talk about PGL, again, this is probably, if you look at all the other companies and when you look at PGL, you will see the majority impact is with PGL. Again, last year, who was the leader in the race? PGL. It grew the fastest, right? But also at the same time, who's suffering this time more? PGL. Again, it comes down to one thing, the contribution of ACs that are there to your top line. If you look at PGL ka top line ka contribution to ACs is around 75-80%, in that range, 76% to be precise. When you look at Epack and Amber, that is there, Epack and Amber ka contribution is not that much. I think Amber ka is around, total product division is around 60%. But right now, if you see, Amber is pushing more towards that PCB, PCBA assemblies, right? So unka impact is not as harsh in terms of both top line as well as bottom line, because those two sectors for them, the other sectors, unka railway ka division, unka electronics division is doing well. Similarly for Epack also, they did grow the fastest because unka AC ka contribution was not that great in last year. At the same time, this time they were not hit, the most either, because they are also diversifying and going into selling the small appliances, आपका kitchen का equipments and all of it. Okay. Now when you look at PGL, as you know, this year they guided for what? They had guided for 30% kind of revenue growth, and profit growth was around 40%. But you see, right, this time उनका जो Q1 का result था, it was absolutely horrible. I think that's a word you can use, because sales only grew by 14%, PAT is down by 22%. And to anybody who thinks there is a room for improvement over here, you're delusional, you're deluded, and like you're living in a delulu land, because like I told you, 60% of the sales happen in the 4 months, that is March, April, May, and June. And if you think iske baad bhi ye kar sakta hai, aage jaake, then I'm sorry, only God can help you. I think God also can't help you over here. On top of that, what was an even shocker over here is these people reduce the guidance, right? Like earlier ka jo guidance tha, sales growth ka guidance tha was 30%. Now they're telling we will do 17 to 19% in terms of sales growth. Similarly, profit growth ka guidance tha 39 to 40% last time, and this time they're guiding for a profitability growth of 3 to 7%, which means no operating leverage. Similarly, unka jo product business, which is a combination of your RAC, aapka, all this unitary products such as coolers and everything, coolers, aapka washing machines, there they were expecting a 35% ka growth last time in Q4 when they mentioned the guidance for the full year. Now they're revising it to 17%. So do you see, Pehla to it becomes impossible to whatever they guided for to do this year, and on top of that, they have cut back on the guidance, which is a huge red flag. Now again, inka agar aap dekhte ho, if you look at the RAC business grew by 15%. If you guys remember, same time last year, I think the RAC business was growing at 150, 120%. So it's a complete reversion that is there. Okay. And yeah, yahan pe wahi bol raha hai ki, like, I'll see. Remember I explained you वहाँ पे demand supply inventory में कैसा problem आता है. Look at the words that they have used, is that when they were talking about कि like inventory में कैसा चल रहा है, is that the management Vikas Gupta, he literally used a word, quote unquote word, channel is choked up with inventory. Bhai, literally use the word choked up with inventory, and बोला है कि like अगर आपका जो discounting चल रहा है right now, because इतना inventory है, you have, how will you get rid of it? The only way you can get rid of it is discounting. And वही बोला कि like pricing is not discussed yet, but yes, it will happen, discounting will happen, क्योंकि हमारा जो जो June and July का जो if you look at the orders that is there, in May it didn't get cancelled, but almost in June, July, August, that is there, 50 to 70% of the order is getting cancelled because of this rain, right? All of it is that is there, right? Think about it, 50 to 70% of your orders in June, July has been cancelled. Okay. So again, right, you understand, right? मतलब यहाँ पे मुझे, when things are going so bad, भाल का खाल उखाड़ के कुछ नहीं करने का, like how terrible the situation is. But yes, it's very horrible for PGL, what they're going through. And I think the final nail in the coffin was this entire promoter ka selling. Okay. See, to be very honest, since like I made these videos on YouTube and I'm not a SEBI registered advisor, so like I'm supposed to give you a textbook answer and be like, what, it's okay, promoter selling, I do not know why promoter is selling, it's completely fine and blah blah blah. But I can't lie, and I don't care also to a certain extent, I guess. I just do have to give my opinion over here. Here is the thing, okay? I am a strong belief I have when you talk about a promoter selling or a promoter buying for that matter. You can't put a blanket statement and tell like, every promoter selling is bad and every promoter buying is good. Like there are certain times when promoter selling isn't bad. There are certain times where promoter buying is neither great either, right? Like there are both cases. So over here, you need to, when you think about, what happened with promoter selling with Sky Gold, it was absolutely, I would say, okay, because those people, I mean, I really feel bad for them in a way, because all this, apparently some people wanted to buy and last minute they took out of the deal. I mean, like, what the fuck, bro? Like seriously. And with PGL, with promoter selling, it's absolutely, I mean, I was watching this interview and all this Nigel D'Souza and everybody, they were grilling Vikas Gupta, and he had a smile on his face. He really conducted himself well. But having said that, it's a bunch of like bullocks, if you have to talk about it. Because here's the thing, think about it logically. Okay, just think about it logically. If you are a promoter, you are running the business, bro. You are running the business. You see what is happening on the ground level. You are able to understand कि like if things are going good and things are going bad. If things are going good, you know कि like भाई मैं इतना इतना करूंगा, इतना profit होगा, मुझे मालूम है कि like मेरा share जो है बढ़ जाएगा. Also at the same time, if you know that things are not going well, you know the repercussions that is going to be on the downside. Why am I telling this is because I still remember this between Q4 to Q1 of last year or Q1 to Q2 of last year. I do not know when, but somewhere in that first half of the year, right? Before I think Q1 or before Q2 of last year, I remember when they had come out with that initial guidance, and I think it was the same Nigel D'Souza who took the interview. I still remember, when he was grilling Vikas Gupta, he was asking, like, "Are you sure you will do 35%?" And Vikas Gupta had this smug on the face, and he was like, "35, which I can do more than that." He had that really good smug, right? I think he and his company, I think the promoters went on to do share buyback, like they did that on the open market, obviously because they knew that like, bro, like I'm going to do more, like obviously, right? Like summer is great, my stock price is going to go up and everything, like they knew that, and that is why they did the buyback. Now over here is the thing. Q4 का con call happened on May 12th. Let me tell you, May 12th. April, May, June are which months? Q1 ka months, right? So you're already halfway through Q1 ka months, okay? In the con call also he mentioned, April, May, my sales grew 70%. Like if you look at the AC ka sale, that grew 70% on a year-on-year basis. But May, it only grew by 19%, 19%. May, okay? June, July, August, wipe out in the entire AC space. Like, sales, the AC car sales, like I think it grew by 70%, right? In the month of June, July, August. I understand you're sitting in May, you can't forecast what happened in June and July, completely fine. But you were in May. You were in May when you did the con call of Q1. You were there, right? And you knew, okay, like things are not that great. You are here in the industry. Everybody in the industry is telling like, bro, like summer is not that great. Summer is not that great. Every single person is telling that. And May, you are sitting in the con call. You knew like halfway through. See, if you are crossing May 15th, which is May is the peak month of summer. Okay, like as you venture into June, it becomes a little bit less. Already the first 15 days are done, and you knew that summer is not that great, and the sales hardly grew by 19%. Yet you came out and gave the guidance. On May 25th, 26th, I believe that was the time. In the end of May, probably I think they sold, they sold the, I think the shares. I think they cut down. I think promoter holding has gone down by 5%. 49, I think around 43 has gone. It's come down. So here is a thing, like you knew, right? Like you knew June में आपका sale नहीं होने वाला है, order का cancellation हो रहा है in the month of June, because it's not like order का cancellation starts way before the month starts itself, right? अगर June में order आपको चाहिए, you have to cater, you will get the order in April and May, right? And at the same time कोई भी cancel कर रहे, they will also cancel it at least 2 weeks prior to that. So when you sold it, like you can, and I think at that time the shares were still trading at like around 750 to 800, like I think and he literally told in the con call, like make a sale was grew by 19%. June and July we didn't see. You were able to see that. That is why you sold it. And there is no other better way to put it. You knew that कि like आगे जाके sales घटेगा. मैंने इतना बड़ा guidance दिया, and I'm not going to be able to do the guidance. I have to recall the guidance, and that is why probably they sold it. And these people are sitting, see, these are like CEOs and everything. They understand the intricacies of the business. They understand how the psyche works in the market. They sit with like a bunch of people who are all these analysts, board directors and everything. It's not something you take on a whim, right? Like it's not something like although we think like, oh, promoter hai, CEO hai, CFO hai, but when you're a public listed company and you know that the repercussions that are going to be there for each and every actions, you know that each and every action of yours is going to be scrutinized. It's not that it's not that like, oh, like I can do anything I want. You have to consult so many people. So I believe like they knew what was going to happen, and that is why they did what they did. And I don't blame them. I understand, because you're a promoter. See, ultimately, I think the reason you feel bad is because we think, oh, they're like promoter, we put them in this godly status. But at the end of the day, when you remove this everything, like, oh, don't put any tags on them. Don't think of them as a promoter, CEO, CFO, Fortune 500 company. Think of it as a human being, right? Every human being has one thing. We all want to make money. We all want to be rich. We all want to be powerful, right? That is the entire thing, right? And he's also a human being. He's worked hard the entire last year, and now he wanted to make money off it, I guess, and he did what he did. I actually, understand why he did what he did. I have nothing against it. So yeah, but promoter selling over here is terribly bad because they knew, bro. They knew what was going to happen. As simple as that. And other than that, if you talk about it, if you see, I think I don't feel bad for the retail investors because like I mean, you could see in Q4 and Q4 how the situation was. It would be really foolish to anticipate something like that, to something like that not to happen. I mean, it was literally laid out in front of you. I actually feel bad, for who did QIP. I think they did QIP. I think floor price was around 800, 850. I don't remember. Now think about it. All of you guys ask, like, everybody will have insider information, that and this. Fuck insider information or whatever, bro. Like, as a retail, the biggest advantage you have is you can sell anytime and get out. Like, literally, okay, just sell. Maybe sometimes if there is that circuit ka issue, that is a ESM, ASM, thoda it becomes difficult. But you can sell and get out, bro. Like, what more do you want? The only time you'll be able to protect your gains is by selling. Versus, on the other hand, look at all these QIP people. Now, look at them. They thought, the capex is going to happen and everything, and look, now they can't even sell. Itna liquidity ka issue hai, right? Matlab, because we're talking about huge bulk deals that will happen. It's not like they can go sell in the open market anytime they want, right? It's complicated. So I actually feel bad for them, because they're just stuck right now, because and all this QIP and everything, 6 months ka ye holding rehta hai. Horrible, just terrible. And think about it, they came with an idea ki, like, itna capex hoga, because the capex plans for PGL was 900 crores. Last time in Q4, if you see, they told they will do 900 crores of capex. Now they're revising the capex guidance and telling 700 to 750 crores. So yeah, that's that. Absolutely like a terrible thing. But I also feel bad in a way. You know why? Because I've been tracking PGL since like 2020, 2021, and for the last 5 years, brilliant execution, absolutely brilliant execution. Okay, they've always done what they've told. They've always guided and did more than that. Beautiful. Go back and read any con call. Go back, track the company for, or read all the con calls. I'll tell you, brilliant. But this one quarter, what had happened with them, with all this weather, with everything that has happened, I feel bad because the credibility that they have built for the 5 years, like, it just ruined in just like what? Like a matter of days, bro. Like, it just makes you think, like this trust and everything, right? Like, it's so hard to build, but it can be wiped off, with one action and everything. So yeah, so always be sincere. That's all I can tell. But anyways, PGL is an absolutely blunder. Similarly with Epack also, if you look at it, Epack had guided for 35% kind of sales growth, but unka sales is down by 15% and PAT is flat. These people are still being very strong and they're telling ki, like, hum log karenge 35%. I do not know how they will do it, but they will do it. I've already covered Amber. As you know, Amber ka right now, the entire thing, you can watch that Amber ka video. It is there in Q1 FY26. Amber ka entire game right now is shifting into PCP, PCPA. They want to reduce the dependency on AC, right? Unka 3 division hai. One is the electronics division, product division, and the railway division. The product division is where 60% of the revenue comes from. Electronic division is around 20 to 25, and the rest comes from the railway division. This time, both of these divisions, railway division was not working earlier. Like, order ka utna acha aa nahi raha tha. Railway division is working well. Electronic division के साथ great updates. They're doing itna acquisitions. यहाँ पे is एक company है Israel के साथ. They're partnering up with them so they can cater to the entire US and Europe का area. They're partnering with the Bangalore का company. They're doing an acquisition. They have a JV with the Korea circuit and Ascent circuit. So a lot of things are happening over here. उन्होंने ये भी बोला Amber Enterprise कि, like, whatever the AC industry is growing, we will grow 10 to 15% more. Let's say if the AC industry is degrowing by minus 10, minus 10%, it's degrowing by 10% or 15%. I will be able to grow that AC ka sales by 10 to 15%. No guidance on that. Similarly, if you look at Bluestar, that is there. Bluestar, like I told you, they guided for 20 to 25. Now they're guiding for 10 to 15. Same case, everybody ka. I'm not explaining in detail because everybody's narrative is the same. Wahi price, supply, demand, inventory, that is the same thing. Similarly with Voltas, similarly with Symphony. I'll just share the screen over here so you can see the numbers. Right? Can you see kitna sales growth hai and kitna uska PAT growth hai? Literally operating leverage has been a miss. The only reason Amber, like I told you, is ka highest sales growth hai is because of the entire move into electronic division and railway division, especially that electronic division, because that grew sales literally by 100%. If it weren't for that electronic division, it wouldn't have happened, right? It wouldn't have. Even they would have suffered. Okay. So here is the thing. Now, one thing over here is what people will do is they will look at either, again, Amber it's a good, oh, what is this? Amber is a good electronic division play, but not like an AC play, you can tell. And यहाँ पे अगर आप देखते हो, excluding Amber, if you see also कि like, and if you think कि like, oh, Epack is growing by 15%, it is the highest sales growth, or PGL right now, if you think about it and start investing right now, you're like walking or competing in a dead race. Remember the race analogy that we give, you have to be with the fastest growing player in the space. As long as you're with the fastest growing player, you will make the most money out of all the other companies that are there. But here what has happened is the fastest growing player is also growing by, like just 15%, which is good for nothing, right? So यहाँ पे, like I tell, this is not a horse car race. You have to play a race of fast cars or horses. This is kachwa ka race. And trust me, if you even have the fastest player in that kachwa ka race, you won't even reach your end line. That is that. Amber ka problem is only one thing, is I would say a little bit, is in terms of high valuations. Because they're doing itna, why I tell that is because they're doing so many, JVs and partnerships and acquisitions and everything. As a result, the EPS that is there may not grow at a faster rate. I mean, that there is always that ambiguity if that EPS can grow at a faster rate or not. If EPS can grow at a faster rate, then what happens? Then आपका PE जो है, it will become come and come. It will become lower, right? But again, Amber can sustain as long as the growth is there. The stock will not, the stock will not do anything. But it's like you're like, how do I put this? It's like riding a tiger at the end of the day. High growth, high PE engine hai. As long as the growth is there, it will make money. But the minute that growth goes up, it won't. But looking at the way the entire electronic division is, like shaping up for them, right? Whether you talk about, uh, yeah, whether you talk about, their ventures that is there with Korea circuit, with Ascent circuit, right? All of it is going well. You should see a lot of the capex going live either in last of, Q4 of FY26 and FY27. Many things are happening for them over here. So I would say Amber is more of a electronics play and not a right now, not an AC play. You are slowly seeing them, push more and more, because electronics mein aapka margins are higher, and on top of that there is no seasonality ka issue, there is no this weather ka issue. So that is why they want to focus over there. And you see, right, we live in a day to day that, we can't imagine a life without electronics, and sabhi electronics mein aapke PCB, aapka semiconductors, all of it is being used. That is why they're doing what they're doing. Okay, so that's that with the entire AC space. I think this AC space, if you look at it, it is that one space where you want to stay away from for probably until the end of this year, until the entire FY26 ends. And probably we will see, maybe in the next year, again in Q4, we can revise this sector again, and we will see if there are some green shoots, if the weather is getting worse. I mean, we need to pray that we have a very, very terrible summer in order for us, if we are investing, for us to make money from these kind of names, right? That's that, guys, about today's video. Again, right, I think a very foolish mistake now people can do, I will just talk about this, a bias that is there. A lot of them would have bought the stock, or they wouldn't have sold a certain stock, and they think like, ye mere buy price mein aayega and then I will sell. But here is the thing, when things go south, there is no, I mean, the downside is, all the way, there is no limit or a cap ki like, share sirf itna hi girega. It can go down and down and down, and it can go up to zero. It can completely erode your wealth. So I would say having a really, really good selling strategy is very important. But most importantly, please don't come with this mindset ki like, stock mera buy price mein aayega, then I will sell it. Because stock doesn't know that Prerna bought it at this price, Prerna bought it at that price, you bought it at that price. Stock doesn't know, market doesn't know. It is only we who think that way. So that is the thing. यहाँ पे क्या होता है, एक तो आपका जो existing capital है वो भी erode हो रहा है. At least if you take out with loss, you get something, right, than nothing, right? Let's say if you invested 2 lakhs, आपका 50% का loss है, at least you have that 1 lakh, take that 1 lakh. Or the other thing is क्या हो रहा है, capital misallocation हो रहा है. So that is the thing. And you see, right, selling becomes very, very important over here, because look at the brutality of the market that is there. I mean, PGL, I still remember, I think there was a point it was trading at 1150, 1200 in that range. And now it is trading at what, like 450-ish, 460-ish, in that kind of range, all because of, one sales growth ka guidance didn't meet and the guidance revision has happened, right? So that is that. So the downside, don't think like, ye itna gira hai, 800 se ye 400 ho gaya, 50% is, it's down. So, it can't fall more than this. bro, any stock, it doesn't matter अगर वो large cap है, अच्छा promoter है, छोटा cap है, it doesn't matter. The downside is all the way to the end. Any stock, irrespective of the market cap or whatever, it can go all the way to zero also, right? And it can completely erode your wealth. So ये mistake में आप मत रहिएगा. Make sure you're analyzing the portfolio. Make sure whatever you have in the portfolio, see Q1 FY26 has come to an end. So whatever you have in a portfolio, I request you, I urge you guys, right? Ek Sunday, this Independence Day, right? 15, 16, 17 को kindly open जो भी company है आपके पास, read the PPT, read the con call, try to make sense of it, right? And try to like take decisions on your portfolio. This Independence Day, try to be independent and be an independent thinker and be an independent investor in the market. Always, please, because see, this is ultimately your hard-earned money, right? And you shouldn't just like, if you don't read the con call, if you don't read the PPT, and if you're just investing blindly, it is it is as equal to jua khelna, right? There is no difference between going to Goa and spending in a casino and doing this. So take that initiative, read that con call, read that PPT, and make that decision based on what the management is telling. That is all I have to say. Okay, so that's that, guys, about today's video. I will see you again in the upcoming video. Bye.